Good versus evil. Communism versus capitalism. To us, one side was freedom. You could do whatever you want under that rule, depending on a couple laws. But another, strictness. Complete authority. Before what we know now, they only saw life through one lens. And so did we. We saw it in freedom, in the beauty of how life is. But for them, their freedom were the farms. They would work non-stop just for a fraction of what the freedom side made. This is how the Berlin Wall defeated communism. By Jason DeSantis, Ryan Kay, and Nick Sanchez. But it wasn't always like this. Most people on the Soviet side never really complained. Mostly because they didn't know how life was. But the Germans did.
After the end of World War II, in July 1945, at the Potsdam Conference, the United States, the USSR, France, and Britain agreed to divide Germany into 4 zones after the defeat of Nazi Germany, until the country was secured enough to reunify.
But this is not a happy story, because in 1949, Germany splits into 2 countries, West Germany and East Germany. Through the 1950s, West Germany prospered as a free society, an industrial member of Europe. Hundreds of thousands of East Germans began to immigrate west in search for new opportunities.
Because of this, the GDR created a barrier along inner East German border, separating the country with barbed wire, guards, and many placed landmines. But there was only one loophole: Berlin. Although the German capital was inside of the Soviet zone, the Allies divided their control equally to match the rest of the country. When East and West Germany formed, so did Berlin. Even with the new wall between Germany, East Germans can simply walk or take any public transportation to the western part of the city and travel anywhere from there. By August 10, 1961, more than 3,500,000, about 20% of their population, East German, fled to the west.
But the Berlin loophole closed on August 13, 1961, when the city woke up to see East German soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder alongside an invisible line dividing East and West Berlin. Unannounced, they began to unroll kilometers worth of barbed wire in the middle of the city. They were building the Berlin Wall.
By brick, until no contact, but a friendly wave.
Travel out of East Berlin became strictly regulated. No one else could leave unless they met strict requirements. And those who didn't faced a nearly impassable barrier complete with floodlights and guard towers. Armed border guards patrolled every day with orders to shoot and kill anyone who crossed illegally. And that's how it remained for 28 years. The story of the Berlin Wall is certainly a tragedy, with more than 260 people dying attempting to flee to the West. The Cold War represented a battle between communism and capitalism. And that's what made the wall so important to this conflict. Let's forget about Germany real quick. You see on the left, that's capitalism. That's the United States, France, the United Kingdom. On the right, that's communism. That's China right now, and that's Russia when this took place. Finally, the line does not just represent a wall like the Berlin Wall, but it represents the difference. In East Germany and West Germany, you can literally see the difference between both lifestyles. Both sides had their own completely different laws and completely different lifestyles. The catch is, when Germany switched, they knew what real freedom was. So when the East Berliners kept fleeing and kept fighting back against the Soviet Union control, both the Soviet Union and the Allies knew that the war has already been won.
The fall of the Berlin Wall sparked a series of revolutions and movements across Eastern Europe, leading to the collapse of communist regimes in countries such as Poland, Hungary, and Romania. This period is often referred to as the Revolutions of 1989. The end of the Cold War and the reunification of Germany contributed to a border process of European integration. The European Union expanded to include many former communist countries of Eastern Europe in the following decades, promoting economic and political cooperation across the continent. Global implications. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the subsequent collapse of the Soviet Union reshaped global geopolitics. With the end of the bipolar world order, new power dynamics emerged, and the United States emerged as a sole power. The era following the Cold War saw increased globalization and the spread of the capitalist economic system. The reunification of Germany brought significant social and economic challenges, as the East German economy struggled to integrate with the more prosperous West German economy. The process of transition, known as Die Wende in German, led to economic restructuring, unemployment, and social tension in the former East Germany.
I can't resist just one last thing here before I go. I have become a collector of jokes that I can absolutely establish are told among the Soviet citizens. They tell them to each other and reveals they've got a great sense of humor, but also they've got a pretty good sense of realism about their government. This is a story that is told in East Germany about that wall. It seems that their leader, Mr. Honecker, was attracted to a very lovely young lady, and he was making all sorts of promises. And then she said, well, all I want is, I want the wall to be torn down. And he said, the wall to... Oh, he said, I know. You want to be alone with me.
When the people of Germany got to see both sides and chose, eagerly waiting for capitalism, that sparked a chain and a huge turning point to create the fall of communism in Europe. Overall, the fall of the Berlin Wall was a watershed moment in world history, leading to the profound politics, social, and economic transformations that continued to shape the world today. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized the end of the Cold War, and ever since, the whole world has lived in happily ever after. Right, guys?